December. And at that point, we're getting into another big emotional shift that will carry us through into the revolutionary days of 2010. And I'm not advocating people go out and get guns and shoot other people, that kind of a revolution. I'm personally, when you bring up the term, I'm talking about revolving, and that is to say revolving my gaze from putting energy into the powers that be to focusing on other more immediate concerns and letting them just go off and drift off on their own. Now, I'm not saying deny reality and deny that they exist and, evil doesn't exist in any of that, because I'm of the opinion that you embrace the evil in yourself, the dark side, and it gives you that same power, and you just don't let it control you. And you become a nice guy, and you face these people and engage them when they come to hassle you. But for the most part, you let them go to the trouble of doing just that and expending their energies, and you don't put your energies back into them. And that, to a certain extent, we see a lot of that kind of language slowly start to emerge. Maybe about a fifth of the total of the revolution subset is engaged in what I can think of as positive revolutionary terms, as opposed to going out and, attack a building or something. And that is going to be pretty much the theme, if you will, the expression of transformation into real, palpable changes for 2010. We're in a transformational year here in 2009, and we'll all realize that we're jumping. We've left the edge of the swimming pool, and we're going to hit that water no matter what. We can't stop ourselves anymore. Now, 2010 is going to be learning to swim.
Okay. We have one question here. Somebody wants to know about the huge increase of people in the United States arming themselves with firearms and large amounts of ammunition, and the fact that the Obama administration is seen to be anti-Second Amendment. People actually going to start taking the law into their own hands with firefights, etc. And I think that was kind of brought up in that.
Yeah, we're going to see that kind of we're seeing it now, And it's an unfortunate side effect of insecurity and the fact that these people can't put together a cohesive worldview that doesn't have a leader somewhere telling them, arm yourself, go out and shoot these other people that don't think like you.
That's right. Which is what got us into where we're at right now anyway.
Correct. As long as you're going back to that power structure, you might as well go on over and kiss the feet of a Rockefeller or a Rothschild and say, okay, master, what do you want me to do?
Yeah, exactly. I think this might be a good place, Clif, for us to take a short break. When we come back, we're going to kind of wrap up part 4, and then we're going to get on to some of your announcements and some crop circle stuff. So for the rest of you, don't go away. We'll be right back with more of Clif Ivory here on Journeys with Rebecca. All right, everyone, welcome back. We are visiting here with Clif I, and our time, as always, Clif, just goes by so fast. We've only got one more segment here with you. And there is somebody that has asked a question, and we talked about this on the break, that you're going to answer, and then we're going to get back and wrap up the Alter report because we want to get into the crop circle things and some other things that would like to make the announcements of as well tonight. So somebody wants to know about hyperchroniacs, and they want to know more about that. So
that's a very complex subject.
It's a really huge subject,
Yeah, there's a lot of verbiage coming in around it. So, but it's in the formation of the linguistic structures now, so we don't really know what's going to be primary support and what's going to hold and what's going to fade away. But it's an intriguing subject because apparently it's suggesting that people are going to live with a different quality of time, noticeably. That is to say, they'll have some palpable difference in their sensation of time, and that this is going to lead to a whole slew of words in various different journals and reports as they start expressing this, and we'll suddenly start to realize that maybe as much as, say, an eighth or a sixth of the population is slowly sliding over into living in this new form of relationship with time. It may pan out that this has expansive nature to it that we're not able to predict at this stage. In other words, it's so new in our data. We know it's going to exist. We know that it's starting to form now and that we're going to start seeing some of the language over summer, but we don't know how long it's going to persist or where it's going to end up. And at this stage, I just find it rather intriguing. The results of the language around the time are quite clearly stating that these people will have a new relationship with it, and beyond that, it looks as though it's difficult for the linguistics to give us details because they haven't occurred yet. Make sense?
Yes, it does. Absolutely.
But it does relate to the ability, perhaps, the alignment of the planet with where we're at with the Milky Way and the hyperdimensional nature of the universe and the platonic solids and vector equilibriums and all this kind of stuff lining up. And so these people just may be especially attuned to it. Might be karma, who knows?
Well, and I think that's interesting because today I was having a conversation with a person and we were talking, it's almost like a feeling of bilocating in a sense, but you're conscious of it and you're actually viewing or observing or participating in a conversation, and you're doing it as well with that same person, but from a different perspective, literally, from your eyes. It's like being in two places at once without being moved. And so how you're observing it is also different. So I think that may be something similar.
Maybe part of it all, because obviously if you're operating at that level, it's almost as though you're operating in two time streams, one watching the other.
Yeah, and it was really fascinating to have that conversation. I really would have liked to have said, several hours to just, go into that, but unfortunately that didn't have the time for that. But so that's something that's also been occurring. I've had that happen as well as I met somebody else that had that happen today as they were talking. So it's all very, very interesting, and I'd be interested in your next reports when they come out to see if there's anything else that comes up about that, because that really is very, very
I'm sure there will be a lot, because we're picking up more and more in that linguistic sick, but we probably won't revisit that in this particular series, other than maybe in the last one to see if there's been staggering changes that we can report on.
Okay, and then this is absolutely the last question we're going to get, because I need us to wrap this up, because you've got those announcements. Somebody here is asking if there will be any more information coming about the fact that the human race has been I'm reading it, so I have to read it. Has been genetically altered several times in the past. For example, we have 233 genes with no evolutionary predecessor.
Yeah, actually, I suspect that there will be a great deal of that coming out as part of the contact meme. It's a subset of particular area in Space Goat Farts, and that as part of the contact meme, that's due to get a maybe 10 or 20,000% jump in awareness as we go through fall. There will be the whistleblowers, which we suspect will come from the shadow government, NASA, NSA, somebody connected with space stuff that will initiate part of that, and then later on, perhaps, that'll probably be late summer, mid-July to August, early September, and then there'll be a month gap or so, and then in November period, we expect to get another set of information relative to our place in cosmos, so to speak, and I suspect a lot of this information is just going to become pouring out. Whether it would be accepted and believed by the masses, that'll take a long time.
Well, yeah, we're still fighting, the masses are still fighting mass, hypnosis in a sense.
Right.
Okay,
we still think paper money is worth something, yes.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
What's a buck worth? It's a perception, right?
Right.
Clif, please speak of the balance we have in front of us, thinking us versus thinking light, love, and being taken into FEMA encampments, forced inoculations, and shipping. Don't we have to fight for our life if our life is at stake in survival? And
that's a personal choice. That's a personal choice. For years, I was caught in a state of what I call the compassion disease. It's one of the 5 or 6 traps you run into as you go along these particular paths. And I would have fought and killed to protect someone else, but I would actually have fought furiously to protect myself. But I don't know that I would have killed to protect myself. And it's a moral choice. I suspect there will be cases of that, but yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sure of it. But as the events, my opinion is, as the events speed up, all of these things that have been forecasted, they can't hold water for too long based on just the shifting of the Earth itself.
Yes.
It's not going to be like if there are FEMA camps, and there are FEMA camps, if people are taken into them, they're not going to be in there for very long.
Well, it's a situation where the powers that be have certain plans, and they're hell-bent on putting energy into them, but it don't mean the universe is going to go along with it. Yeah.
That's right. Absolutely. And I think we have about 15 minutes. Is that going to give you enough time to go into?
Sure, we can go into the stuff that we're doing at the moment here real quick.
Oh, I'd love it.
Yeah. Basically, let's get the summer issue out of the way. I've got all kinds of stuff I've got to do here, and so we're going to not do the Alta reports for a number of months in summer. We have a situation where we had the lexicon, and we kept doing data gathering as opposed to taking some time off in October of 2008, which we usually do. We take time off between each run and tune the lexicon and go through the language and match up words and all these emotional values and so on. And we didn't do that. We've got a ton of data stored that way that we need to go back and tune the lexicon. So we're going to do that over the course of summer. Then, of course, unfortunately, and that was our plan. We're going to take a few months off, get this thing tuned, and we'll probably be able to come back with in late summer or early fall, with a report series that is we're hoping will have a great deal more accuracy because we'll have had a chance to get through this language that we captured at the turn into the release language as of October 7th. And that was the plan. And then, of course, I stumbled on this idea about the spinning of the crop circles. Not to claim that it was my idea to spin the crop circles, and I got taken to task by somebody that was involved in actually Kent Stedman's site, where they had the Milk Hill crop circle spinning. And he said, other people have thought of it, and that's quite true. My idea, though, is that there's something there that is more than just a fun, amusing game or an interesting picture. I reasoned it thus. First off, I saw some examples of spinning crop circles in a YouTube video, and I thought, boy, that's really this one particular one that came almost fast enough to produce a three-dimensional image or color retracery given the persistence of human vision and how the visual cortex works. I went into that very extensively in the early 90s when I invented this software called Vortex that allows you to read from computers very fast. I had to know about how the brain reacted to flashing lights and fonts and colors and all this kind of stuff, and how the eyes move and so on. So when I saw these crop circles spinning, I thought, boy, these guys are onto something. They're just not doing it correctly. I need to make that thing go faster. So my idea was, well, let's just reduce all the crop circles we've got images of to grayscale or black and white drawings to reduce the amount of information in there. And then let's write some software that will allow us to do some interesting things under the user's control in spinning them. And it turned out that the idea had some merit, and we're getting some little bits and pieces of test bed software working, where some people are starting to report back effects already. And some of the effects are cool. I actually have observed in my crude test here, I wrote a quick little test bed that allows me to spin it up a little bit. It's very crude. It breaks down under the images and so on. But I got to some thresholds that say that, the makers of the crop circles, I am presuming, know how our biology works, because some of these things are designed to produce images at certain rates of speed. It cannot be an artifact of an accident, if you will. It's the crop circle is actually designed around some of these hidden images that show up when you rotate the thing. Other crop circles, we've discovered, actually have 2 axes of rotation or more built into the crop image itself. And we're taking to calling them glyphs because they're not all circles and it can be misleading.
Right.
Right. The effects on the one I was looking at was an entry into an alpha state. Now, I know an alpha state because I get there through meditation and have done for years and years and years, and I'm quite familiar with it. So just looking at it for a few seconds, I felt myself starting to enter into that state and was very much aware of it, even under the crude conditions we've got here. We have a number of people around the planet that are working their butts off to get the software ready.